Welcome to our Sound for Video session. Today's the 17th of December, 2017. And in this session, we're going to talk mainly about headset microphones, which is what I'm using here, which you can see. Yep, you can see there. In this particular case, we are looking at, excuse me here, the Voice Technologies VT Duplex. And it comes in this interesting high quality, kind of semi-hard case. Which is nice because it doesn't get smashed, so that's important. But first of all, before we get too much into that, let me just talk about a couple things. First of all, this is my first experience really with a high quality headset microphone. So for me, this is kind of still kind of evaluating things and learning how to optimize their use and position them appropriately and secure them to the people. The thing that's nice about headset microphones, of course, is that in certain circumstances, they're very useful because they follow the talent as they move their head, as they move their body. If they're doing some sort of demonstration, this is nice because you're not getting all of the clothing rustle and things of that nature. So there are a variety of productions that use these. I think some cooking demonstrations I've seen use these in some cases. I think that another very commonplace is the TED Talks, if you're familiar with those. Love them or hate them. They get a lot of views, and for them, they set the priorities so that they're using headset microphones, again, because the talent or the presenters are walking around the stage quite a lot. Some of them move more than others, and a lot of them move their arms and hands as part of the presentation. And so to avoid all of the potential issues with that, and these may be people that are not necessarily accustomed to microphone technique, so they may or may not be, and so just using the headset microphone just avoids all those issues altogether. So those are kind of the use cases. Obviously, narrative film is not a place where you're going to use headset microphones a whole lot, but for demonstrations and education and presentations, I think they're a really great option to consider. And that's why I talked to the Voice Technologies, and I actually asked them to send this to me. They did send it to me free of charge, just so there's a full disclosure there. And you're hearing what it sounds like right now, recorded. Let's see, the signal chain is the Voice Technologies Duplex. This is the Omni-directional version. It's going to my Sennheiser EW112PG3, I don't remember the exact model number, the pretty much standard wireless, into the Sound Devices Mix Pre 10T, which is here on my desk recording right now. So that's what you're hearing. Let me give you another voice to listen to, because every microphone sounds different on different voices. I guess, well, I should say every microphone complements each voice differently. And so here's another sample for you.
I'm looking for somebody who will have a dialogue with me for doing sound for a performance. Maybe somebody who, if I'm not quite understanding what they're saying, that they'll be patient enough to maybe give me a brief explanation so that I can better convey to them what I need. In terms of monitoring during a performance, it really depends on, first of all, the venue. Second of all, the type of performance. For example, is this a solo performance? Is it a small group? Is it a large band? With a large band, then I'll definitely need some monitoring on the stage. With a solo performance, it's really not necessary usually. During a show, in terms of lighting, I prefer things that are not directly in my face, just because sometimes that can get really it can be hard to maintain that presence on stage that you're trying to convey to the audience if you're feeling like you're staring into a really bright light. However, sometimes that can't be avoided.
One of the things I've learned so far is that you do need to definitely secure the cable. On the back here, there is a cable. It is detachable so that if something happens to the cable, you can replace that without replacing the entire microphone. That's very nice. And I found that you do have to definitely secure the cable to the person's neck. Otherwise, you'll get the whole headset moving around if they move in certain ways. So I just use transport tape, which I can put a link for that down below. It's medical grade tape. It's hypoallergenic, so it generally won't irritate most people's skin. And it's pretty comfortable too. So there's that. Also, this is a dual ear hanging headset. And this one, they really kind of the main focus, I think, from the marketing materials I've looked at, it seems like one of their main focuses is to make this one as comfortable as possible. And I can say this one is quite comfortable. Definitely I can feel that it's on, obviously. I've got a wire that comes behind my neck, and I've got this thing suspended over both ears, but it has this very kind of nice memory kind of plastic rubberized thing that hooks around both of the ears, and then it has a part that comes underneath the earlobe here that holds it in place and suspends the boom out so that it's at the appropriate length. Now, in this case, I've moved it back from my mouth a little bit. I had it up closer to my mouth in a couple of the previous Sound for Video sessions, and I just want to hear how this sounds different. I have a somewhat sibilant voice, and I also have some nasal resonance, and so my voice obviously doesn't work awesome with all microphones, and so some of them tend to pick those things up and perhaps overemphasize them. That's why I gave you the other audio sample, just so you could hear what that was like as well. What else can I say about these? It also does come in a cardioid version, so if you have if you're going to be filming somewhere where there's a lot of ambient noise, the cardioid version can also help kind of narrow that down a little bit. What this relies on as an omnidirectional version is sort of the inverse square law. Essentially, you have the microphone very close to the sound source, and everything else is much farther away. So you gain it up because you gain it up based on the fact that the microphone is very close, and so a lot of the other ambient sound is not necessarily picked up. So it works pretty nicely, I think, for a lot of circumstances. But again, if you're going to be working somewhere where it's very, very noisy, the cardioid version may be worth looking at as well. And this applies to other headset microphones as well. I think that's mainly what I wanted to cover for today's. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down below. If you have more experience than I do working with headset microphones and you have any tips, we would love to hear those as well. We've got a great community out there with lots of other people that have experience with other things, and so it's great to hear your input each week. So appreciate that, and please keep that up. We really do appreciate it. Get out there, make some great sound, and we'll talk to you again next week.